Yeah, it'll be crazy. It's like a big reunion too, high school reunion, because everyone goes to the USDA. Oh, sure. So yeah, a lot of reaching out.
I've been talking to Lisa lately.
No, they do that for B-days, but not this. Yeah. Well, and it's Halloween weekend too, so. I always have to go back to that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the City Commission meeting to order. Please stand if you can and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, well, good evening, everyone, and we'll go ahead and get started with roll call.
Benson.
Here.
Brunick.
Here.
Hanoff.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Minor.
Here.
Schramm.
Here.
Villanueva.
Present.
Weber.
Here.
Mayor Mosier.
Here.
City Manager Leon.
Here.
City Attorney Denherter.
Here.
Next under routine business is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2023. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments on the minutes from the commission? Anybody in the public? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Anybody abstaining? All right, minutes approved. Number 3 under routine business is the schedule of bills. What is the pleasure?
I move that we pay the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on the bills? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Mayor Mosier.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 4 under routine business is the city manager's report. I will turn it over to City Manager Leo.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the commission, members of the public. Our mission is to provide exemplary experiences, services, and spaces that create opportunities for everyone to learn, engage, and thrive. And I have a couple of notes for you before you get to your business. Number 1 is that I'd like to talk about sales tax. If you didn't hear, we did receive the sales tax numbers from last month. We were down a little bit, 0.86%, all 3 pennies combined, but we're still up 4.76 cumulative for this year. So that is positive for us. Typically, we do see a little bit of a downturn in the fall, so it doesn't surprise me. And typically, 4.76% would be really strong. And we don't have time to debate probably whether some of that is inflation or what that all means, but we're in the right direction. I'm not concerned about a small dip there for 1 month, but I bring that to your attention. That was emailed out to you, and the media has that as well, and it'll be posted on our website. So that's where we are with our sales tax numbers, and I wanted to let the public know here at our meeting. If you wouldn't mind pulling out your calendars again. On your consent calendar, Commission, we did want to set Thursday, December 21st at noon here for the date. Jean checked with the school. That will work for our second meeting in December. We typically get that wrapped up within the hour. We usually have very little business to conduct. So if that works for all of you, we'll ask that you set that in during consent. Also want you to take a look at the month of December. Friday, December 1st is the city Christmas party, letting the media know that the commission does receive an invitation to that. That will be held at the Meridian venue this year, I believe. And so shortly you'll hear from our HR department as to whether you want to RSVP for that. But no business. However, there could be a quorum present. Although I suppose if Al tells a joke, you might vote to never hear him tell another joke again. I've kind of taken over on the joke telling. But no, so just no voting, just fun and Christmas cheer. I won't see you all again before Halloween, so reminding folks that on Halloween evening, we'll probably see a lot of trick-or-treaters, ghosts and goblins. Police department will be out, but just to make sure everyone's keeping an eye for littles that'll be about in the neighborhoods. On Wednesday, Dana Schmidt, the library director, and I will be meeting with we're having kind of a library mega meeting. The library board is scheduling a meeting, and it's going to be a joint meeting with the foundations and friends. And so we're talking about some things in their strategic plan, our strategic plan, their feasibility study, and talking about how to move forward with that, as well as some other items that are coming forward. So that's an exciting sort of initial meeting, and Dana and I will be visiting with them. Commissioner Weber is your liaison there. I'll be touching base with each of you before Wednesday to talk to you a little bit more about that. You do have a couple of things in your SharePoint. You've gotten some letters and emails over the course of the last couple of weeks. When you get those, Jean and I, either if it's timely and you need the information right away, we'll send them out over email and then also put them in SharePoint, or just put them in SharePoint. So you did receive an email today that we put into SharePoint associated with video lottery. You have a couple of those in your SharePoint file associated with people's opinion on video lottery. I also emailed and put in SharePoint a letter from Doug Saul regarding the library. So with that, Mayor, unless there's questions for me, I will let you move on to your business.
Are there any commissioners with questions for the city manager? All right, hearing none, and I don't believe Commissioner Weber is turning on her mic. I do want to take just a quick second to promote something. First of all, to thank the commissioners that are serving on this. I don't know how many of you are paying attention to the Yankton Meridian Bridge Centennial Facebook page, but if you're not, please get out there and like it, find it. Kudos to the commissioners, city staff, and the public that are serving on the committee. I am thoroughly enjoying reading the posts. I believe they come out Mondays on the history and what it's really taken to get that bridge going and everything. All the characters, one might say, that were involved in getting that bridge here. So I just want to give an early shout out to that committee and those that stepped forward to say that they would help us get ready to celebrate that in the community. I know they've already announced some dates this next year as we ramp up to that celebration. So just encourage you again, it's Yankton Meridian Bridge Centennial. I'm sure if you even just type in Meridian or Meridian Bridge, it'll probably pop right up in your Facebook feed. But get out there and like it. We're getting ready to celebrate that, and just wanted to give a shout out as I was thinking about that. Don't know why that popped into my head, but anyways, have been enjoying it. So kudos again to the committee. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to everything they have planned. With that then, want to move on to number 5 under public appearances. This is the time and the place for the public to address the commission on something not on the agenda tonight. All right, I do not see anybody getting up to address the commission, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Number 1 is to establish November 13th, 2023 as the date for a public hearing on the request for a special events on sale malt beverage retailer's license and a special events on sale wine retailer's license for one day, December 9th, 2023, from the Center, Chris Thury, Executive Director, located at 900 Whiting Drive. Number 2 is to establish November 13th, 2023 as the date for a public hearing on the request for a transfer of location of a retail on off-sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 from Finney's LLC, doing business as Finney's Pub and Casino, James Palmer owner, 2101 Broadway Avenue, Suite 40, here in Yankton, to Shree LLC, doing business as Vape God, Dipan Patel owner, located at 821 Broadway Avenue, Suite B. Number 3 is to establish November 13th, 2023 as the date for a public hearing on the request for a transfer of location of a retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 from Finney's Casino LLC, doing business as Finney's Casino, James Palmer owner, 2101 Broadway Avenue, Suite 50, here in Yankton, to Finney's Casino LLC, doing business as Pinups Casino and Gaming Lounge number 6, James Palmer owner, located at 3010 Broadway Avenue. Number 4 is to establish November 13th as the date for a public hearing and consideration of the applications for renewal of alcoholic beverage licenses for the 2024 licensing period, which would be January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. And last, as City Manager Leon discussed in her update, is to establish Thursday, December 21st, 2023 at 12 p.m. as the date and time for the second City Commission meeting in December. What is your pleasure with the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Anybody abstaining? Consent agenda passes. Moving right along, we move on to old business. Number 1 is consideration of memorandum 23-202 regarding the request for a special events malt beverage on sale retailer's license and a special events on sale wine retailer's license for one day, October 28, 2023, from the Center, Chris Thury, Executive Director, located at 900 Whiting Drive. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number 2 under old business is consideration of memorandum 23-203 regarding the request for a special events malt beverage on sale retailer's license and a special event on sale wine retailer's license for one day, November 11th, 2023, from the Center, Chris Thury, Executive Director, located at 900 Whiting Drive. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on the agenda to new business. Number 1 is consideration of memorandum 23-185 and resolution 23-56 regarding the sworn law enforcement salary adjustments for 2024. Before I ask for the pleasure of the commission, I will ask City Manager Leon to walk us through what's being proposed tonight.
Certainly, Honorable Mayor. The City of Yankton has worked with both of our collective bargaining units, and we've already acted on the AFSCME civilian union negotiated wage per their labor contract. And so we have now negotiated wages with the Fraternal Order Police, and that's what's before you tonight. In addition, this is going to, if approved, apply to all sworn officers. So as some of you are aware, and some of you may not be aware, patrol and our detectives are covered under the Fraternal Order Police bargaining agreement. Our supervisors, who include our sergeants and our commander and our police chief, are not within that bargaining unit. However, part of the reason this is different than the salary negotiated for the AFSCME civilian union is the market which we find ourselves in with law enforcement nationwide. And certainly, we can't pay people what they're worth. However, the market right now is bearing for law enforcement certainly an additional cost. So what is being proposed to you here is that effective January 1, 2024, each eligible certified officer will receive a 5% cost of living base adjustment and 1% step on the certified law enforcement pay scale. They do have a different pay scale, so their steps are different in the pay plan than non-certified individuals. So this is for 1 year, 2024, and that wage opener will be available again for discussing at 2025 because that contract does run through 2025. So if approved, this will be for all eligible full-time certified officers regardless, that are below that maximum respective pay range. So if they're at step 20 already, or at the top of their step, it may be 10 for police, but then that step portion wouldn't apply.
Thank you for walking us through that. Are there any questions of the commission as it pertains to this, or if not, what is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved. Second.
We do have a motion and a second on this, and City Attorney Denherter has said he has a correction.
Just one thing I heard City Manager Leon indicate is 5% cost of living, and she said a 1% step. I think that
One step.
a single step.
One step.
It's-
Pardon me, Ross.
no
Thank you.
problem. Yep.
Does one step usually amount to about 2%, or is there a figure?
One step for our civilian pay plan is about 1.26%, and it's double roughly for certified officers. So it's about 2.5%, roughly.
And I believe the trade-off is they have half the number of steps.
Yes, they have 10 steps. We want to keep our officers for 20 years. Labor studies show that that may not be the case as it used to be, but we hope it is. Some of them stay for 25, Chief. 30, 40.
Are there any other questions of the commission? Anybody in the public want to address the commission on this? Roll call.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Weber,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunig,
Aye.
Hunoff,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Schramm,
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye, motion carries. Number 2 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-201 requesting a public fireworks display on November 30th, 2023 to coincide with the Holiday Festival of Lights tree lighting. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and an eager second to do fireworks as tied to our Holiday Festival of Lights. Is there any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Weber,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunig,
Aye.
Hunoff,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Schramm,
Aye.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye, motion carries. So now the public is on notice, one, when the Holiday Festival of Lights is, so make plans to participate, and two, to know we have fireworks coming to kick off the holiday season. So the date is out there now, so make plans to attend. Always a good festival and event, and Todd Larson has guaranteed me, he and his staff have promised great weather for this event like we had in the past. So it would be plausible for everybody to go, right, Todd? Yes, okay. They've talked to Mother Nature. All right. So with that, then moving on to new business number 3 is consideration of memorandum 23-206, recommending the update of the current Yankton ordinance, section 3-3, to properly align with state law, and any modifications of the cap will require a change to the attached draft ordinance requiring a first and second hearing. I Amy, is there anything you want to say, or do you want me to turn it over to the city attorney?
I'll let Ross do most of the heavy lifting on this one, since we're getting into a lot of legal intricacies. What I want the commission and the public to understand, that as we dove into this further, we have identified that our ordinance is not in compliance with state law, and we like to be in compliance with state law. So regardless of what's decided, if you decide to change how we're treating a video lottery, or the cap, or removing the cap, or any other option that you decide to take action on, we need to change the ordinance. So an ordinance change is forthcoming. That process requires a first reading and a second reading with a public hearing. So if direction is given tonight on what to do or what not to do, if you don't have direction first, we're still going to bring forward an ordinance change to get in compliance. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're changing anything tonight. If you do definitely know as a commission where you want to go tonight, we can create that ordinance, word that ordinance to be both compliant with state statute and reflect your wishes. So we just want to make that clear, that even if you don't change anything, something's going to change, because we found that out. And when we dig into those things, we understand that. And I think it was a well-intentioned mistake. It's just as we read it more carefully, we realized, hey, that's not exactly right. So
Do want to remind, I know as I can look out and see lots of faces here tonight, I'm not sure our millions in the viewing audience at home can see it, but we do have quite a few people here tonight. Please know we will take the time we need to work through this and give plenty of time for public input. So please just kind of wait for my direction on that. Public input, we will ask you to go to the podium, state your name so that we do know who we're hearing from, and we'll make sure we get through anybody that does want to address the public. But let us walk through, first of all, the changes that do need to be made as we then open discussion tied to this. Thank you, City Attorney Denherter. Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. When we had our work session, I provided the commission with a lot of background information in terms of how we got to where we are today. But the memo you see before you is basically where we need to go to get ourselves compliant. Staff reviewed what we had and compared that to state law. In the process of trying to identify our options, we discovered we have problems. The first issue that we discovered was that the statute that gives municipalities the authority to regulate the endorsement of video lottery only gives that authority for video lottery endorsed on retail beer on sale licenses and retail wine on sale licenses. That means the city has no authority to regulate whether video lottery can be endorsed on a retail on sale liquor license. Those are exclusively managed by the state. So the first proposal that we are, as a staff, are recommending for you guys to adopt is the specific restriction, if you guys are going to retain a cap, that the cap only applies to retail malt beverage or retail wine on sale licensing. And just a quick aside for the benefit of the public that hasn't been part of this discussion before, the city does not issue video lottery licenses. The city approves the transfer or the issuance of retail malt beverage or retail wine on sale licenses, but the city commission has the authority to set a limit or cap on whether those licenses can be endorsed for video lottery. So if somebody has a retail on-sale malt beverage or wine license and the city commission has not set a cap or the cap has not been exceeded, then when that license is before the commission, the retail malt beverage license or wine license is before the commission for approval, the commission could endorse the issuance of video lottery, and then the applicant who has that license would apply to the state and get a separate video lottery that is attached to the retail malt beverage or retail wine license. So I hope that makes a little more sense in our discussion, but we can only regulate video lottery endorsed to retail malt beverage or retail wine. One of the other, issue that we spotted with this particular ordinance that's been on our books is there are two subsections that purport to restrict transfers of existing video lottery licenses, or essentially the malt beverage or wine licenses. It restricts the transfer of those licenses with the endorsements if the city's limit has been exceeded. And it makes sense that we would draft the ordinance this way. However, the state statute specifically prohibits any criteria effectively that the city can use as a basis to grant an endorsement under that statute as it relates to the transfer of an existing license. So there is no statutory authority. In fact, there's a statutory prohibition on the city's ability to restrict a transfer of a license as it relates to the video lottery endorsement of it. So if we were going to deny a transfer, it would have to be exclusively related to the beer and wine aspects of that transfer. Something about the alcohol license rules that would prevent our ability to transfer it, not the fact that it has video lottery endorsed on that license. So what you see at the end of the memo that's presented for you is a draft ordinance. Quite frankly, the easy issue for the transfer restriction is just to axe subsections C and D. So you'll see on that draft ordinance, subsections C and D have just been struck through. Is that the right way to phrase it? Struck out. And then the other modifications relate to the cap, to the extent you wish to keep one, applying only to the RW and RB, meaning the retail beer or the retail wine on sale licenses. So as it stands now, there is a cap shown on the draft ordinance, but that cap has been adjusted downward to only reflect the existing number of retail beer or retail wine licenses as they stand right now. So the ordinance that we had a limit of 39 total, but because a fair number of those were attached to retail liquor, it's been simply adjusted down to match what we are currently doing. So if you wish to increase the limit of retail beer or wine licenses that could have video lottery endorsements, you would just move it up from 32. If, however, this commission is inclined to eliminate the cap, the easiest solution would be to simply repeal this entire ordinance. Because that's effectively what we're left with. It's just a cap. So if you do not want a cap at all, we would just look at presenting you with a repeal. But the repeal of an ordinance follows the same procedures we would use to modify an ordinance. So we would have a first and a second reading to simply repeal what we have on the books. Any other questions I can answer for you?
So Ross, for us and the public, if we decided to increase the number available, what would that process look like? And how much, do we have any options to, I've heard suggestions that we limit the number that a certain license holder can have, but that's not possible, correct? So if you could just walk through what our options are and then what the breadth of the law allows us to do.
Sure. So the law allows us to consider a list of factors in the issuance of a video lottery endorsement. The key that every municipality that regulates seems to latch onto is the quantity of video lottery licenses in the community. But what frustrates our ability is that sentence in there that we were already violating, that sentence that says if you have a properly issued video lottery license, you cannot restrict the transfer of the alcohol license that it's attached to, at least as it relates to that video lottery endorsement. So we could set those rules in place, but someone could, have a friend apply for it, get it in, get it approved for some other location, and then just using them as a straw man, then turn it over, request that it be transferred, to that person that has accumulated licenses, and there wouldn't be a way that the city could stop that if the alcohol license would be lawful to transfer there. So that's really a hard issue to try to resolve. The legislature didn't open up a very broad toolbox for you. I don't have a good answer for that. I think the easiest solution is add more, if so, how many, or just to open it up and not have a cap. And I think whether you do that is a policy decision that this group gets to decide, and that's maybe not an easy decision to make. But the other part of it is, if you increased it, you guys are going to want to wrestle a little bit with the manner in which you issue those. If you're going to remove the cap entirely, that's not a big deal. But if you're going to limit, the statutes do not authorize the city to sell the licenses. So we couldn't auction those licenses. We couldn't set a nice fat fee for the issuance of those licenses. As a city, the statutes only authorize a fee per machine. And that's all we can do, unless the legislature were to modify our authority to set a fee structure for that. So $50 per machine is all the city would get. First come, first serve would be kind of tricky if you're going to limit the quantity that you would have. I think maybe, first come, first serve is tricky because we've been maintaining a waiting list for, Al, do you know how long that waiting list has been going? Probably since we put the first cap on. 1998, maybe? So I don't know how good that list is. Lottery is always an option. It just depends how many. If you wanted to add 50 of them, that might accomplish, everybody who wants one would get one, but I think lottery may be the fairest, but you guys get to decide that too.
In order to get into the lottery, what would be the requirements?
You guys could set a protocol for that, but I think it would, quite frankly, as long as you filled out the application material and you meet the criteria for the issuance of the license, that's the same protocol that was used for the marijuana dispensary, 2 licenses when there were 5 applicants.
So Ross, when you're saying a lottery, and now you brought up tied to the medical marijuana and the kind of the process we did there, would you envision that it's like people coming forward, saying they're interested, possibly paying, didn't we do like remind me again, we did like a non-refundable fee. We had so many people come forward and then there was just basically a drawing out of the hat. When you say lottery, something like that, or would it be different? I'm just trying to compare.
More or less, yes, but sans the fee. Remember, all we can charge is $50 per machine. So I think we could, I think it'd be a matter of just making sure that the people qualify, whoever is applying qualify per the statutory requirements, that there's no administrative reason why we would say no, and if they check all the boxes and have provided all of the material that they would need to provide, so that would be an administrative rubber stamp if they were to come through effectively, then they would qualify. But it doesn't have to be done that way. That's a policy decision that you guys could say. We just can't charge an extra fee beyond what the statutes allow us to. And I'm not suggesting a lottery is the right way. I'm not really sure what a better way might be, and maybe there's some people in the audience with some ideas.
And thought on this too, and I'm thinking about it, I feel like I'm equating it to the chicken and the egg, which one came first. So do you have to have an existing like malt beverage license to add the VL, or can you get a VL and then get a malt beverage? Is there a pecking order on that?
You do have to have the malt beverage license first.
So it would only be those that have a malt beverage license, if that's the way we set it up in a lottery, would be the only ones eligible then?
Well, you raise an interesting question, because if someone is getting the malt beverage for no other purpose than to get the video lottery, it almost seems like it would be silly to have them get a malt beverage just to, if they don't get it. I think it would be, from a practical standpoint, it would make more sense if they meet all the criteria for the malt beverage. And then effectively, that's what we're doing, right? You guys are approving the malt beverage license with the endorsement of the video lottery. So effectively, it's the malt beverage license that you're approving the endorsement on. So in theory, someone could already have a malt beverage license that doesn't have video lottery on it. They could come before you and you could approve the endorsement of the video lottery on it. Does that make sense? So it's the approval of the license itself, the alcohol license. That's the action you guys are actually taking. So it would seem to me that they'd have to meet all the requirements on the application for the malt beverage as a condition for getting put into that lottery.
A small wrinkle I'll throw out there is if they already have a malt beverage, they probably don't have a lottery room. And you have to have a separate room. And again, that's based on state standards on the qualifications, but it has to be sealed off, so to speak, from everything else in the building. Are you going to require them to have that first?
I'll push back with you just a little bit in the sense that oftentimes, as we have been transferring, the approval comes first and the construction comes second. You know what I mean? We'll have a drawing with a space of where it will go. And
But
once that's
again, as you
approved-
mentioned, if they're applying strictly to get the video lottery, how do we differentiate that that's what they're doing then? You know, if they're doing it just to get the video lottery, now they've got a marketable value. So that's the only thing I'd throw out as the wrinkle. Again, it would be up to the commission to decide, but.
I agree with you, Al, yeah.
Ross, quick question. So you hearken back to the marijuana process. And so did we not set in that marijuana process, did we not set the application fee as a commission?
You did, yes.
So in this case, could we not set an application fee for this process?
The only fee that we can charge is the fee associated with the retail malt beverage license application, because that's what it is that you guys are approving. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's the process. Now, I believe, okay, I believe this to be the case, but it's been a while since I looked at this. I believe this commission does have the authority to set fees for the issuance of malt beverage licenses at a rate that's higher. Just know that you can't just single out malt beverage licenses that have the video lottery endorsement on them. So you would be impacting potentially anybody else who wants a retail malt beverage, and that will have some unintended consequences.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, again, when you're talking about malt beverage, you're talking about on sale and not off sale, correct?
In fact, there only is, your malt beverage license is both on sale and off sale. Same with the RW, the retail wine, is an on sale and an off sale.
Okay.
So as a public service announcement out there for anybody who's holding a a retail liquor license, if you are also paying for a malt beverage or a wine license and you do not have video lottery associated with that and you're not doing off sale, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're wasting money on a fee you don't need to pay every year. Get rid of your malt beverage or your wine. Because I know we have some of those in town.
One more question too. So the list, we have maintained a list. We have taken names, but you're saying now that we're not going to honor a list, or at least try to honor a list that we've taken names on and maintained?
I'm not necessarily suggesting that. You guys will get to decide how, if you raise the cap, the process you want to use, but we're going to want to map it, make sure we understand what that's going to look like. And I don't think the list was necessary. I don't know how the list was maintained. I don't know what was told to the people when their names were written down back in 1998. I don't know if it was always assumed that it would be a first come, first serve. I'm sorry, I just don't have that institutional recollection. But I think if you raise the limit, you guys effectively, by policy, could decide how those were issued.
I think a recommendation, Commissioner Villanueva, would be if the commission wants to raise the limit, we would see if those folks on the list are still alive and here and running businesses, and we would inform them that their names were put administratively on a list. However, that process is not going to be the way which we recommend to the commission that they follow. We would probably need to let them know that in advance, probably by a letter, and also then probably help ask the media partners, and then also ask our business services at Thrive to help us get the word out that we are going to be somehow, giving out, I guess, for lack of a better term, or providing more access to the licenses, so folks have knowledge that that's going to happen, and we'd want to set that far enough in advance so people can put their name in and have a chance. That's, again, if you're following that process. I think also you'll need time to have feedback from the folks who already have those licenses and those impacts.
Yeah, I would just be concerned that if we took names, and again, not knowing what was said back in 1998, but if we took names and whatever it was we said, I think that we probably need to be mindful of that. I would hate to walk ourselves into some type of legal issue if someone says, my name is on that list and I wanted a license for all this time.
From the legal side of things, I wouldn't be terribly worried about it, because your ordinance didn't address, the city's ordinance as it exists now doesn't address a waiting list and how that will be issued. Each applicant comes through on its face asking for what it asks for, and that issue has never come up. But your point is well received. I mean, those people have been incredibly patient waiting 25 years.
Ross, is it legally possible, say we don't remove we say we have a cap, is it legally possible to build in a mechanism to remove an endorsement should that endorsement be dormant, not using that endorsement? So say someone comes in and gets 5 of these, if we put 5 more licenses out there and one owner gets all 5, and they're not using them, just to create more of a monopoly on the situation, is it possible to remove that endorsement and put that back into a queue for redistribution?
I don't know the answer to that without specifically researching that. I do, okay. I have an anecdote, if you will. I don't know how useful this is as instruction for the future. And it actually is, it may be irrelevant because it ties to the retail liquor. We just found out last Tuesday, I believe, James let staff know that the Minerva's liquor license was now in the hands of the Boss's Pizza and Chicken, now has video lottery at that location again. That was a surprise to us because staff didn't receive the application form with the $50 per machine. So staff went out there and looked, and sure enough, there's some machines there. So they were notified right away they're not compliant with the requirements of statute, and they came in and they paid their fee. But that actually became the 40th license, which exceeded the existing cap that is currently under the existing reading that we have, despite the problems that I've already told you about and the fact that that doesn't comply with law. That was a situation where Minerva's had stopped doing video lottery many years before they left town. From a staffing perspective, I think Sue O'Grady, I'm not really sure where it came from, but there was, at the administrative level, there was a decision to treat that one as not an active license in town. I don't know if that was the proper way to handle that or not. It didn't come through my, past my desk to weigh in. But in that case, it doesn't really matter because it was liquor and we can't control that. But it did raise the question for us last week when we were talking about it. Okay, was that always an existing video lottery license? Because the endorsement was technically still there. They just weren't using it.
And again, just to try and clarify for the audience and anybody listening in, Boss's Chicken did not come to us as the city authorized process, so to speak, to get video lottery. They went straight to the state. And the state approved it because the state's law said we didn't have the ability to tell them no in the first place. They had the retail liquor license that came from Minerva's, so they could do it that way. So in the past, Minerva's did have one, had used it for a while, and I believe it was in 2016 that they quit having their little room out there with 4 to 5 machines that they had, but they did not transfer it or anything because it was attached to their liquor, so it was just dormant. So that's why we called it as inactive, and still we're at our 39 maximum that we thought was a maximum, that now we know we didn't even have the ability to limit any retail liquor one. So again, it's a little complicated, but part of it is how the state treats video lottery and our interpretation in the past that we did have the ability, so.
Right. And to that point, something to clarify, and it's in your memo, but for the benefit of the public, there are 9 liquor licenses in this community that are currently outstanding, actively being utilized, that don't have video lottery. So that means any one of those license holders, and there's one exception due to a contract that they have with the city, but so we'll say 8 of those 9, if at any given time they would want to go to the state and ask for video lottery, they could do that, making 8 additional licenses and 80 up to 80 additional machines, and there's nothing the city can do to prevent that situation, and the city just gets its $50 per machine per year. So in terms of your policy decision, whether to increase the cap or not, just bear in mind that that's still in our community right now, and I would venture a guess at least some of those people didn't know that, and in light of the public buzz, perhaps do now. So there may be more soon, just by virtue of the public discussion.
Ross, a real quick question. So can a person take that video lottery license and separate it from their liquor license and sell it off?
By contract, yes. So it's been done. It's been done once, kind of as an experiment. State said, okay, yeah, this works. So essentially what happened was there was a retail liquor license here in town, and they wanted to use the liquor in one location and the video lottery in another. So the creative process that was set up there was they entered into an agreement with the city that if they decoupled the liquor and the video lottery, that video lottery could be attached to a retail malt beverage, but they were contractually prohibited in kind of a chain of title sort of situation where they were not allowed to put video lottery back on that retail liquor license, because the license numbers don't change. So if you have a retail liquor, it's valuable. if you want it, but it's that license number that transfers. So the city file has that agreement in there. It's an agreement with the city that whoever holds that retail liquor cannot ask the state for video lottery endorsement on that license unless it's remerged. So that owner would have to, again, acquire a video lottery license into the same space attached to a malt beverage and then reconnect it with the liquor.
Commissioner, I don't know if it's helpful for you. Sometimes these comparisons are helpful and sometimes they're not. But if the public hasn't taken a look at your packet, also in your packet, we've put together some other cities in South Dakota and what they're up to. You all know where we are in terms of population. There are a couple communities that don't have a cap. Pierre, Spearfish, and Vermilion, Huron, they don't have a cap. And we show the number of machines each community has, and we show the per capita numbers of machines. There are some communities that cap as well. In terms of population, closest to us, I believe, population-wise, is Mitchell. Their cap is 24. It's not based on population. They have 285 machines. That's 18.23 machines per person. Yankton, we're at 15,453 people. We have 39 as a cap. It's not based on population. We have 348 machines as far as we know right now, and that's 22.52 machines per person. So sometimes comparisons are useful. Brookings, for example, caps based on population. So once they meet a certain threshold, they add licenses. So sometimes that's useful, sometimes not, because we're not living in those communities. So I just bring that forward because I sometimes think that that's useful. Right in these I shouldn't say top 10 cities, but in the class 1 cities, it appears that Brookings is the only one that we know that regulates by a population.
And just one small clarification again to Amy's commenting on machines per person. It's machines per 1,000 people. We aren't quite that
Sorry.
proliferated, but
Sorry. I scrolled up here on my, and I didn't see the 1,000, it just says people, so, yeah, but, okay, so, thanks. Good thing they don't have me handle the spreadsheets.
Yeah, so 22.52 per 1,000 people.
Actually, that's 356 machines divided by the population, those ones that you added. So it's actually 23 machines per 1,000 people, which is the highest in the state, at least on this comparison we're looking at.
You can't have 0.52 machines.
Yeah, and I do apologize, these tables didn't get updated following our discovery of the new, the additional license last week. So that's correct, Commissioner Hanoff.
My only point was that we're already the highest per capita in the state with the cities we're looking at.
I do, I guess one would give Commissioner Weber a chance to turn her mic off if there's anything pertaining to this discussion. Usually, I ask for the pleasure of the commission on a motion, and we discuss. I'm reversing that a little bit tonight because I do believe the commissioners would like to hear input from the public before a motion is asked for, because I do think tied to this motion tonight is a chance, yes, the heat is cranked right now. If anybody is wondering why we're all starting to sweat up here, thank you, Dave. I was like, folks, we have been all over tonight. It was hot, then it was really freezing cold. It started to get really cold during the work session. Now we're swinging the other way. It's a pendulum. Just, I don't know if Dave turned it up so we don't talk as much tonight. I don't know. We're getting it, but if you're wondering. So I do believe some of you in here tonight that want to speak would probably like to do that before we decide how we want to move forward. So I am reversing that if the commission is okay with that. I do think we'd all like to hear from the public. We want to also do this in an orderly fashion. So if you do want to address the commission, as I shared earlier, I will ask you to go, I'll have you go to the podium and potentially form a line, because I do want to leave Lisa at a microphone. I know she's done a lot of work here as tied to this, related to the finance office. Ross, it's easier to leave her there than to switch her out, put her back on if there's questions she needs to ask. So anybody that wants to address the commission tonight, before we would ask for a formal motion, let me also clarify, I want your input. We will get a motion. Once you know the motion, if you'd rather wait for that and then address us, know that we still have to vote. So that makes, if that makes a difference as well. So I'm sure, just as we've had this discussion tonight, everything I just told you is clear as mud. But we will walk through it together, and we'll make sure we do that in an orderly fashion. So while I see if Commissioner Weber wants to come off the mic, I would ask anybody that wants to address the commission to please go to the podium. I am going to ask you to state your name, just in order to keep things moving along tonight, and the fact that we want to try to get through everybody who may want to address it. I would ask if you could try to keep within the 3 minutes of an update, so that we can get through everybody. I would appreciate that. I'll try not to do a timer unless it starts to get extensive. Know that, again, we'll have a motion and another chance for people to comment. So I'll only turn the timer on that Ross kindly gave me if we decide that it's getting to be too long. But if you do want to address the commission, please hop up to the mic. We'll get that started. Commissioner Weber, anything from you, questions you have before I open it up to the public?
No, I don't. I just want to listen.
Okay, perfect. Please state your name and then feel free to share what you'd like with the commission.
Jeff Dayhuff. I have 3 video lottery licenses right now. I'm definitely against opening the cap. I think it will cost our current business owners that have these video lottery licenses that are worth $150,000, that will turn, if you opened it up to everything, that would make our licenses worth 0. And if we're talking about 40 licenses at $150,000 apiece, you're taking $6 million worth of equity away from your businesses in Yankton, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I'm going to keep this brief because I know there's going to be a lot of people talking about it. I think every license issued will cut the current revenue and the value of the licenses, although I understand that it's not your choice, it's going to be up to the state that are laying dormant. I think the other thing is, if you say you're going to have extra licenses, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, how do you deny the next person? And I think that's going to open a whole can of worms that you'll have to deal with, and I think that brings a lot of problems that you don't really want to deal with. So that's my thoughts. Any questions? Thank you.
Yes. Next, if you'd state your name, please.
My name's Larry Olson. It doesn't matter how many licenses I have. I'd like another one, but I'll buy it on the open market, like I did my other ones. I'm all for the cap. As Mr. Hanup said, we're already overloaded with machines in Yankton. And the other thing is, I bought another license in December. So they are out there. Jim Palmer bought one. Who else? Somebody just bought Sportsman's. There's 3. And somebody bought one from Joe Dean's. So it's not fair for somebody to get a free one when people like, well, whoever bought Joe Dean's, I know it had liquor attached to it, but I had talked to the city and they said I could sell that and get a malt beverage. Like, I think that's what came from that mumbo jumbo stuff. But anyway, so who's gonna go to that guy that paid $350,000 and go, oh man, you should have waited, you could have got a free one? Not right. Not right at all. So my deal is, there's plenty of licenses. Lots of them have sold in the last 7, 8, 9 months. And if I want another one, I'll get one. I don't want a free one, though.
You probably know the drill, but if you'd state your name and then go ahead.
Jim Palmer. I'm going to reiterate a couple of the same things just because it's another business that feels similar, right? So we have the highest, or it was close. I did some math on just the information I could find online, and I couldn't find a couple of cities with the internet, but we're pretty close to the highest per capita. So I guess the question is, why are we even talking about it? So the list that we refer to, well, there was a list for a reason, because somebody thought there needed to be a cap because they didn't want to have too many, or whatever the situation was back then, but that's why it was, and there was a cap at that time. It's typically 1,000 per capita. I noticed there was another city talking about it right now. I think it's 843 before the license comes up, which is an odd number. I don't know where they came up with it, but that was what it was. So the idea being that we have some sort of balance of bars and casinos and those types of things in town. So we're way over that if we're going to be anywhere close to what other people do. Second of all, absolutely the value of the licenses that are there. I bought a business in this town 12 years ago that was absolutely one of the worst businesses in this town. And I've spent a lot of time and effort and money building that business up for this community. We'll be hosting another state tournament again this year, which will bring a couple $1 million in taxable revenue to town. So that's what I'm after. How do I build that business? On the business that I have. Part of that is video lottery, and I've invested a lot of time and money in that. So they are absolutely an asset to me. I'm quite sure that my banker would agree that if they became worth nothing, that he is extremely under-leveraged. So not only my assets are you're after the bank's assets as well. So it goes back to, why are we even talking about it? The reality of it is, it's because somebody wants one, that already has one, is where this conversation started. Well, I want another one too. But I have to go find one on the market just like everybody else, just like Larry said. 3 of them sold in the last year. They're not that difficult to find. You just got to pay what somebody says they're worth. Just like any other business in town, when they sell it, I don't think it's right for you guys to be able to tell people what they need to pay for it. The economy of those licenses was actually established by that desk right there. When they decided to say, this is how many we're going to have for this town. I'm not saying it was right, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm saying it's the way that it happened in this town, and we are where we are now. So you really can't go back in time and change businesses that have been in place for years because of those licenses. And for me, am I going to go buy another one? Well, I don't know. I'm a little scared now, right? Because we don't know what you guys are going to do. The reality is, I buy the licenses, or I build the business, or I buy something. I spent $300,000 in the last 2 years on my bowling alley. Why? Because I have revenue streams that come in that help me do that, and it's part of my business plan. If I lose that, well, I lose my business, correct? I mean, so that's where we're at. So I think there's more than just one way to think about it as, do we want a cap or not? Well, it's not the cap. It's the economy that was created by the city of Yankton around those video lottery licenses that are there. And I think it's indicative of every city to look for easy ways to make money like that too. Well, we'll sell some more. Same thing with liquor licenses and those types of things, which can be charged more for. So I would venture to say that if we could have charged, when you asked if we could charge for those lottery licenses, well, let's charge $150,000 a piece. Our budget's going to look great next year. I wouldn't blame you for that. But if you're going to set a license value for that license that you're thinking about doing, it better be $350,000, because that's what Kirby Milenberg paid for it. You can take away the lottery if you choose, You can buy a liquor license. You can buy a liquor license for $70,000 from the city. Is that right? 70,000?
Restaurant. That's
For the
a little bit
restaurant,
diff-
yep.
It's a little bit different.
Okay, so the value of that, and let's be realistic, we'll add, what was the last liquor license that sold? I'm not exactly sure, but let's just say it was $100,000. That video lottery license, he just paid $250,000 for. That is an actual asset that was just paid for within the last few months. That's what a video lottery license is worth. So if you want to put a price on one, sell them for $250,000. I bet you won't have any problems with the 40 other businesses that should be hamstringing if you take away the value of their asset. You want to sell them for $250,000 a piece? I don't have a problem with that. Somebody wants to invest that much into a casino? I have. Good for them. But to say it's worth nothing, they can just stand in line to go get it, or maybe a $75,000 number or whatever number that, you somehow come up with. The only real number is about $250,000 because that's what he paid for it. And I'll be honest with you, it's pretty easy to prove that. He owns a casino. He doesn't own a liquor bar, he owns a casino. So that's what he bought. He didn't buy the liquor license part of it, he bought the lottery license part of it, and the liquor came with it. So I guess I'm just trying to put out there that there's a lot of different angles that may not seem easy to find, but it is easy to find the ones that we're talking about. Can we have a cap, or can we take a cap off, or can we do any of that? That's probably the least important part of the conversation. I'd say the most important part of the conversation is the financial aspect of the business people in this town that have invested a lot of time and money into them already. So, and I'd gladly talk to anybody anytime about that if they have any questions for me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have others? Yes. Please state your name.
Jeff Wall. I'm with South Point Casino, and basically, I haven't been public speaking for 15 years, so bear with me. Basically, what I'm going to say is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We got the most machines in the whole state already. What are we after? It's crazy. And the guy who is pushing to get more machines, get a machine, he's got one. He can buy a license. In fact, it took me 2 phone calls a day to find a license for sale. They're there. All you got to do is just pay the price. And the price is, the open market, the capitalist system. If we end up, you spend that kind of money, and all of a sudden the cap comes off, who's going to replace that value? That value is going to disappear overnight. And somebody's going to have to come up with it. Somebody's going to have to do right. That's it. If it's not, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Matt Evans. I'm just trying to touch base on a couple things. I had something written here, but I'd like to touch base on a couple things that were said. Saying that things are readily available. You said you found one that was for sale. Can you tell me who that is? Exactly. He's not going to tell me. So I've talked to almost everybody in this room about buying their license. And none of these guys are selling it to me. Not a single one of them. I've asked them, and they say no. Some of them have 5, 6, 7 licenses. And they want these licenses, and they aren't willing to sell them. You cannot find them. I have looked for months. I'm just trying to touch base on what they've said here. As far as the list goes, I think we're going the wrong direction on everything. One thing that solves the problem on this entire thing is lifting the cap completely. I get it, that sounds drastic, but have you guys ever thought and looked at the math as far as the other places that don't have caps are the lowest? The reason why the cap creates this is because it creates demand and value. So that's why there's people from out of town that see this, and they're buying these licenses in town because they know that they're going to increase value. most of these people bought these for less than $100,000 or $60,000. And it's not that you're taking away their value. You're controlling the sale, no different than the Fed raises rates of interest to control values of homes and everything else. If you limit anything whatsoever, it's going to raise the value. It doesn't matter what it is. Let's see here. These people in this room that are against this have known for years that this cap has been temporary. I would be willing to bet that almost everybody in this room is on that list, because before this was even brought up, because they've known that the cap was going to be raised or changed at some point in time. If they didn't think it was going to be raised, that list wouldn't exist. Those are the things I wanted to touch base as far as what they've said. I'm going to go to my letter now to try and keep it as minimal as possible. Hello, my name is Matt Evans. I'm here today to ask the commission to please lift the cap of video lottery licenses. I'm asking to give smaller businessmen like myself a chance to obtain a license. To hand out 10 or more licenses will only allow bigger name companies to buy more licenses and the smaller name businesses to not have a chance. The reasoning, sorry, I lost my spot. The reasoning is younger people like myself have not had as much time to get on the lottery license list as some of the older people in this room. I was in high school when this list started. I didn't have a chance to even think about it, while most of these other people have already started their business. Therefore, this is at a disadvantage because of my age. I work hard to better myself in the Yankton community by spending any income I make in my hometown. A lot of these licenses are owned by people who do not live here because they see that there is a cap on licenses, which makes them more valuable. Starting a casino is no easy task. The cap on video lottery licenses has created an astronomical value that makes it very hard to purchase a license at a fair price, or if even at all. Even if a license is obtained, to buy the machines costs $15,000 each, equaling $150,000 for just 10 machines. Then you must buy real estate in the right location, which as we all know, is not cheap right now. Then on top of that, you need a license for repairs, maintenance, management if you want to do it yourself. For this reason, I don't think many businessmen will want to build a casino due to startup costs. Even without a cap, this is a deterrent for most. The next point I will make is that the cities with the lowest per capita video lottery machines do not have a cap on their licenses. I believe that it is because creating a minimum amount of anything, it only drives the price higher. Only 100 cars of this model were ever made. Okay, that car is going to be worth a lot of money. It's just how it works. Only 10 prints of this magnificent painting. That painting is going to be worth a lot of money if you create that. Even if it's as simple as something as simple as a Pokemon card that is worth nothing. If there's only 10 of them made, it's worth a lot of money. It's how it works. I'm sorry, you guys, we put ourselves in that position when we created this cap. It built up that cost. This case, sorry, I lost my spot. If the cap is lifted for video lottery licenses, the license will hold their value based on the income that they bring. This is the case in almost any aspect of business. A local restaurant value, a rental house value, and almost any commercial business appraised value is based on income that it generates. These will not be worth zero. At any bank that you go to, it will be worth what it brings in for money. I'm asking the commission to please lift the cap. Please show everyone in Yankton, please show everyone that Yankton is open for business. Open for business, as Amy stated earlier, to create opportunities for everyone. My age, I don't stand a chance against these guys. Like the city mission statement says, even for the younger generation like me.
Good evening, James Grotenhuis, owner of the Fox Stop convenience store in the northwest corner of town. So, yeah, I'm to blame for all this. So, to begin with, I would like to thank the commissioners that made the effort and took the time for either my wife or myself to have a conversation with you ahead of this meeting regarding our stance on the issue of video lottery licensing within our city. I also want to thank city staff and the city attorney for the information provided when asked, clarification given when asked, and the overall dialogue that occurred during this process. I know I've asked for a lot of information, played devil's advocate at times, and maybe pushed a few buttons. But this was all to understand the issue completely and from all sides. We understand that the cap is really what is at the forefront of this conversation. The process to understand how we got here and the subsequent discovery of some language that doesn't align with state law will require a change to the ordinance one way or another. Our request is for the commission to consider the cap issue altogether instead of staying with the status quo. Staying with the status quo does not accommodate for the growth of Yankton now or for the future. We think there are a couple of questions that the commission should ask itself. What was the goal or reasoning of the commission at the time the cap was imposed? Was it fear of the unknown? Was it the stigma that surrounds gambling? If we don't agree with vices, why don't we cap other vices? The second question is, was the goal accomplished? And does it continue to accomplish this goal? Or does it need to be changed to align with current plans and visions that the city has for itself? The city's mission statement is to provide exemplary experiences, services, and spaces that create opportunities for everyone, as Matt said, to learn, engage, and thrive. Business education teaches us that competition is healthy for a business climate. It brings out the best in businesses. It encourages consumer choice. It can lead to more competitive pricing for goods and services, and it can be the driving force behind expansion and economic growth as businesses seek out ways to grab a greater share of the market. Jobs and economic growth then follow this. This economic basic is also controlled by regulation. Regulations are in place to ensure fair competition and protect against monopolistic practices. We understand there could be an economic consequence to those currently holding a VL endorsement. We understand that if licenses were to become more readily available, more VL-driven businesses may appear and dilute play amongst other already existing VL businesses. Our business would also be bearing that risk of losing play. Some of these existing VL businesses have made a significant investment in these licenses. Some of these people and businesses we would consider friends. We don't want to hurt the business of our friends or other business owners in town. We know how hard business is in the first place. Something the commission should ask itself is if it feels that it has the responsibility to protect the investments of a few people and businesses have made, or if its job is to provide opportunities to everyone fairly. Did anyone on the commission or has any city staff been asked if the cap would ever be lifted? Were any guarantees given to investors that the cap wouldn't be changed? If that answer is no, I don't think that the commission has the obligation to protect those investments. Those were risks that business owners took on their own. Furthermore, I believe the value of these licenses are in their play. If video lottery is an active part of their business, they will see a return on their investment for years to come. This license will not hit the private market because it makes money for that business. City ordinance should not create instant wealth for someone that can outbid the competition for a limited commodity that is favoring the wealthy and does not create opportunity for everyone, as your mission statement proclaims. The current and proposed ordinance change will continue to encourage the monopolization and consolidation into mega VL casinos if a change is not made. Making a change and lifting the cap will create a more equitable playing field, thus encouraging a healthier business climate for Yankton. This is not 3 minutes, I know, I'm sorry. The city of Yankton's best option to see revenue from the video lottery operations is to lift the cap and get licenses in the hands of local business owners. The trend lately has been the consolidation of licenses to larger casinos, with a good percentage of them being non-residents of Yankton. That revenue is leaving Yankton. Revenue that is generated by local businesses stays here because these are the people that live here, work here, and give here. We give to local initiatives, civic projects, schools, and volunteer groups. That's how Yankton wins, by having that net revenue regenerate through its local economy. To finish, we want you to know that we understand that this is a difficult topic because of all the variables that play into this decision. We recommend lifting the cap. We would also recommend putting a limit on how many licenses are at one establishment, while grandfathering in the existing businesses already operational in Yankton. We understand that this will not be popular amongst the few, but we believe that it is the fair thing to do for everyone and the future of business growth, business health, and the overall well-being of the economic climate of Yankton. If you are still having a hard time with this decision, please refer back to your mission statement. To create opportunities for everyone, and also one of your strategic planning goals states, to create an environment that supports a vibrant business community. Please consider these missions and goals when making your decisions. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the commission? I promise we really are not trying to sweat you out. Yeah?
I'm still Larry Olson. So anyway, I did talk to a friend of mine in Mitchell, and I said, well, what do licenses go for there? He said $250. And so capped places isn't something abnormal. And I guess if I just don't like diminishing, I just don't like adding more machines when we have plenty anyway. And when I bought my first license, it was from Dan Rupiper, and it was dormant or whatever you call it. So that's not uncommon either. Just like Minerva's, I called them 2-3 times because they're on the sheet. They've always been on the sheet because I'd get a list of people, and you call and you're lucky or you don't. Anyway, that's all.
Anybody else? All right.
I'd like to point out, Mayor, just for the record, the type of alcohol licenses that cannot be endorsed with video lottery is the packaged off-sale liquor, which is coming up for bid soon. Also, any of the restaurant retail liquor license, that's the $70,000 license we mentioned earlier. And the state also has a convention center liquor license too. Those three are not eligible for video lottery.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Retail, on sale, off sale wine does qualify for video lottery.
We just never had any in Yankton.
Correct.
Honestly, we didn't realize you could have them because there never has been one. They're all RB or RLs. But it's subject to the same cap, in theory. If we keep a cap, it would be a cap that applies to RB and RW.
Larry, I'm going to ask you to go to the microphone. These meetings are recorded, and we have millions of people in the public listening. They can't hear you from the back of the room.
I'm still Larry Olson. Anyway, Thrive does many activities. Transfer licenses to Thrive and have Thrive, what is it, Thrive? Yeah. Have Thrive sell them. Nobody said you can't do that.
So long as Thrive could meet all the criteria to obtain it, in theory, that could work. We have to get it to Thrive first. So it'd have to be a legitimate transfer. They'd have to have a facility that met all the requirements. They'd have to have a room that could have the video lottery. So that creates some logistical challenges, but I love the way you're thinking.
Yeah. We need to keep the license values where they are.
I know.
James Groenice again. I forgot one more thing. I've heard a little bit about, our licensing. We've got a high number of machines per capita, and maybe the question would be why the need for more licenses. I don't exactly have a perfect answer for that, but one thing that I did think about was a good amount of Yankton's economy is driven by visitorship and tourism. We are a temporary home for thousands in the summertime, as evidenced by the RV parks that have sprung up in the lake area. This is not accounted for in our population, nor in your per capita calculation. It also plays in part in people's entertainment and drives a part of our local and state economy. So I guess my question would be, why would we want to limit that income stream? And I also think that we've also struggled with, we want to get people to come into town when they're here visiting us from the lake. We want that tourism to come into town and not just stay out there. So that was one thing I wanted to address regarding the number of terminals in our city.
My name's Matt Evans. I really appreciate Larry coming up here and saying that. I have no problem paying for a license if that's a way that either the city or Yankton Thrive or whoever can generate revenue. It's great to have people come up with ideas to have that happen. And I mean, I'm just looking for a chance, you guys. That's it. That's all I want is a chance. Thank you.
I'm still a coatless Jeff Dahuff now, but another thing that comes into play here is we're on the Nebraska border, and just like what James said, the tourism down by the lake, we're second only to the Faces in the Black Hills, and that's a big part of it. But I'm still against the cap. But being right next to Nebraska on the line is a lot, since they don't have video lottery. That plays into it a lot too. So. James is a great friend of mine, and I understand what those guys are saying, but I don't agree with lifting the cap.
All right, I'm not seeing anybody move to the microphone from the public, so then I turn it back to the commission with other questions, thoughts, ideas, or how you may want to move forward with what's in front of you tonight.
Well, some of the thoughts that I have are that we've had a cap at 39 or 32, 30. What is the cap right now?
Okay, the ordinance cap is 39.
Yes.
But we didn't know until the last, month and a half as we've been researching this, that we didn't actually have the authority to regulate beyond the 32 RB licenses that we have right now.
Okay. But that cap has been in place since?
The last time the commission addressed it was 2000, and I think it was a continuation of the previously created populational-based approach, which I think was 1996 or 1998, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Again, just a slight clarification. It really wasn't based on population. We only interpolated that based on what our population at that time was and what the cap was. So I think somebody else mentioned every 1,000. That's not in state law. That was never in city law. The 1,000 applies to the additional people you have to qualify for a new retail liquor. And as I've stated in the past, we won't have a chance for another retail liquor based on current state law until we reach 22,001 person. Because that's how far ahead of the state cap we were when the state adopted it in 1985. So again, it's just clarification thing. It really wasn't based on population. It was just interpolated out And that was some of the consideration that the commission considered in a couple more attempts to lift the cap. And the commission at that time chose not to. They just kept it, again, not at population, but at 39.
All right. But there is a trigger on the liquor, right? A population-based trigger, so that we could increase it.
For on-sale liquor.
Right.
Which automatically qualifies.
Yes. And that's, I guess that's coming around to the issue that I've got with it, is we've sat on this cap now for at least 23 years, right? The cap stated, and within that, I'm not looking, the cap is in place, right? If I could go back in time to the beginning of this, I would say, let's not have a cap. But there is a cap in place, and there is value to those, and people have paid money for those. I'm not looking to take away the value from those, but I'm also not looking to inflate the value of those by keeping it at a predetermined number and never allowing it to expand. I think that there needs to be some way to have it based off of population, because I don't really know any other way of doing it. I know Brookings has done that. They've done it at 1,000 people. So when you gain 1,000 people, then there's another license, right? And we can only control, or can only control the endorsement of the RB and the RW, the licenses. So I guess I would be in favor of having an expansion based off of population. And I know that we can't sell it, right? Or we don't think we can sell it right now, unless somebody can come up with a creative way of doing that. So if that is the case, then I think the only other way that we can do it is through a lottery system. Because that's the only way that you can open it up fairly to everyone. I'm certainly open to hearing other ideas as far as what people's thoughts are, but that's where I'm at right now. I don't want to take value away from these licenses, but by the same token, I don't want to inflate these licenses and just. I feel that there needs to be a check valve, a relief valve of some sort, so that we can, as the community's population gains, we have a trigger, a mechanism to be able to increase, a license for every 1,000 people. That's my suggestion.
Is that a motion, Ben, or is that a motion at this point? I'm thinking along the same lines that I understand that there is a cap and that creates a market and value for those licenses, and so I don't want to destroy the value that you guys have worked hard to pay for and to build up. However, I think we can also acknowledge that the community has been growing, so theoretically that adds value to the licenses if we're just keeping the cap in place. So like you mentioned, Brookings recently decided that they were going to increase the number of licenses based on 1,000 people. So every 1,000 people, you add a license. And I guess that sounds to me like a way we can acknowledge both ends of the spectrum. If we were to go back, then that would add two licenses to where we are now. And then it'd be another 1,000 people before you would add another one.
So just to clarify, and Ross, you brought this up, so correct me if I'm wrong. So as it stands right now, based on the on-sale liquor, there are 8 licenses right now that could be applied for, which would then raise our licenses that are out there for video lottery by 8. And the only reason those people maybe haven't applied for it is because they didn't know.
Well, I don't know if that's the only reason they haven't, but I'm guessing that some of them didn't know.
So something we have to keep in mind is that if it were my license, I'd be applying tomorrow, because it only makes sense. But again, that's up to them, and you brought it up, but we got to think about, we may have 8 more licenses very soon.
That might be the fallout of this discussion, yes. It's just something to be mindful of. But Nathan, to your point, you asked if there's a motion. Just know that if you guys have a consensus on something, just know that you're basically directing staff as to how to craft an ordinance to bring forward for you. Because what I brought is merely a draft, and we're not even treating this as a first reading. So you guys have plenty of opportunity to discuss and have plenty further opportunity for more public input.
Great. I was going to ask you to clarify that, Ross, because I was knowing we needed a motion of some sort, but knew it wasn't like an official one that we still had to put in front of a first and second reading. Okay, I wanted to clarify that. Did you have a comment, Mr. Palmer?
I do.
Yeah.
Jim Palmer. A couple of things that, I'm no expert, but I know how my casino runs pretty well. And a couple of things with that. Number one, the key is per capita, the amount of licenses that or of machines that we already have. We're not going to create any more customers in this town. The summertime, it's true, we have millions of taxable dollars that come through this town from people that are coming from all over the country. And I'll tell you what, some of them come to my casino, but summers are my slowest time of the year. I run the largest casino in town, and I'm telling you, you want to look at my numbers, you can come any day. They don't come to the casino, they're camping. They don't want to come inside. They want to go outside. So I do have players that come from all over the country that come back year after year when they come. I'm not saying that they don't, but typically that's my slowest time of the year. So I think that's what I was trying to emphasize earlier, and I guess just stating, we're not going to create new players. We already, we're more flooded than anybody that there possibly is. And also to your point of creating an inflated price on them, there's only one license that ever went that high, and it's because he bid it that high. The rest of them all sold at a reasonable price. We accessed 3 of them in the last year. It wasn't tough. They're not out of hand anywhere from, and I don't know what other people paid. I don't know what Larry paid. It doesn't matter, but I can tell you that it's a fraction, a third probably of that. So is that a real value? It is because he paid for it. It was paid for, but typically that's not the issue. The cap doesn't create any value that's extraordinary. So, I mean, I think we go back through, and like I said, there's 40 business owners that'll tell you, or you can find out what they paid for their lottery licenses or the liquor license that came with it, and you're not going to see any exorbitant numbers like that. That was the only one that's ever been there, and it was ridiculous. But that's where it's at, and that's what happened, and then we kind of have this conversation like that creates demand. It doesn't create demand. That demand was a fourth of that a month before that. It's just the demand that he created because he wants one, which is great. That's there. And whether he has one, I have a person that would sell a video lottery license to me right now also, but you're right, I'm not going to tell you who it is. If I can afford it, which I can't right now, I will go get it when I can on the open market. Whatever it happens to be at that time when I get there, because I can't get it now. So I'm one of the old guys that he can't compete with, I guess, but the market is not set by me. The market is set by people that bid to that point.
Quick point of clarification, just to clarify, and Jim, you can stay up there for a quick second, just to confirm. The one that they're referring to was a sale of a retail liquor with video lottery endorsement.
That's true, yep.
Which is different from the retail malt beverage that currently has. And there's definitely a difference in price point on the open market right now between those two.
Yep, not that much.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so one of the things that I see is the commission kind of being, they think that they're making these people lose value of what they have. And I might be stepping on some toes here, but I think, like, I agree with Jim. as far as the licenses, like the one that was purchased from Jodine's, I get it, it was, $350,000. And that is what inflation has done in the last year, okay? So there are licenses that were purchased for $60,000 a year ago, okay? So this cap has created this inflation to go from $60,000 to $150,000 for the lowest one, and the highest was $350,000. So I would ask the commission to look at it the other way. In my perspective, is the wealth that we're creating for the people that already have these licenses. Not only does it need to stop, as far as that value, it needs to go backwards. So even if these licenses sell for $100,000, they're still making $40,000, and some of these people bought them for way less than that. Thousands of dollars, not even 50 grand. I'm talking in the last year, the price has almost tripled for this because of this cap, okay? Then that's one thing I'm asking you to look at is you're not decreasing their value, you increased their value. So just bring it back to where it was a year ago even, when they bought these licenses at $60,000. And then on top of it, obviously nobody will share where these are for sale because they're very, very valuable and they're not going to give them away. So the reason why they won't give them away is because these machines make thousands of dollars per machine per month. So even if they did pay $350,000, this thing's paid for in no time, especially if they already have another 5 or 6 or 7, because those are the machines that get played the most. So as far as losing on their investment, even if these things were worth $0, these machines are making thousands of dollars per machine per month, even in the slow time. They're getting their money back, you guys. They're not losing money, even if they were worth $0.
Hi, Emily Vanderhule. Ben, I love your idea and where you're going. It seems to make sense. Ross, I was wondering the 8 licenses that could appear tomorrow with a lot of video lottery machines. Is it like Ben's Brewing or is it Hy-Vee? Because I'm thinking like Hy-Vee is not going to have. Are those some of the licenses that you're talking about?
It would be only on sale liquor license. So,
sorry, does on sale mean you have to
liquor bars?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Not the restaurant version. So, like El Tapatio doesn't count, and
so like
Checkers doesn't count because those are restaurant.
Okay.
Ben's Brew Station, I don't believe has liquor, but it's places where you go that have a bar type or lounge type establishment that also serve liquor. They are all uniformly eligible for video lottery if they wish, but there are about 8 that just don't.
Okay.
All bars.
But not off sale,
Not off sale, not packaged liquor,
Hy-Vee
not liquor
liquor.
stores, not Hy-Vee. It's only bars and lounges that have liquor.
Okay, that is a lot. All right, thank you for clarifying.
You bet.
And of those bars, liquor establishments who do not have Lotto, could they break Lotto away from their license and do the contract like you were talking before?
They could, yes. And sorry, apparently that was a very confusing explanation of how that works. But yes, it can be
I
done.
can probably provide those 8 names if you'd like, Ross, if you're interested.
I would just be curious.
So those 8 are going to be Ben's Brewing Company, Black Steer, Elks Lodge, Hillcrest Golf and Country Club, the brewery, the Landing.
Places that are not in the foreseen.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, I got to stop the conversation between the audience and the commission or staff without going to the microphone and being recognized, please. Again, we're recording, so, all right, Mr. Wall.
Yeah, Jeff Wall. Short and sweet, we got a strong gaming industry in Yankton, and we got the most machines of anybody, but we know what we're doing. We're on top of it, and we're doing a good industry. Let's not blow it. And as far as looking for machines, they're telling you where to find them. So, thanks.
Clarify, I only listed 6. The other 2 are going to be the Cockatoo Bar and Zebra Club and the Upper Deck. Their video lottery licenses are attached to a malt beverage. That helps that answer.
You're like,
Okay, what do I hear?
you're
the
like,
first one.
you're like Beetlejuice. You appeared right when she said your name, so.
I forgot what I was going to say now, sorry. Hillcrest, I believe, they took their lottery away from there, so they're not eligible to have one. They sold their liquor license out of Hillcrest, didn't they, James? Yeah, so they're not eligible for one.
I have them for a retail on-sale liquor license.
They do have one, and they don't have a lottery, but I think they entered into an agreement to sell their video lottery. Is that right, Ross?
I don't remember off the top of my head. If they did, then
Yeah,
that's
I
another
don't
one
think
that
they have
can't.
one.
I just don't there's one that sticks out at me in my mind for sure. They might have followed that same roadmap.
Yeah,
just
I
can't
think
recall.
there is that, but we could clarify that.
Sure,
That's
I can look into it.
If they did, their file at City Hall would have that information.
Right. I think to be respectful to the commission, we're talking about all this about how we're going to give extra licenses out. But really, the motion should be, let's not get the cart before the horse. If everybody says they don't want to increase the cap, it's a whole different discussion. I mean, if you vote on that and somebody makes a motion, it seems to me like that clarifies a lot. Now, you don't have to worry about how you're going to do them. And that's just my own observation. The cap is in place for many years, and I think that this just local, or this recent resurgence has been just a big demand for people, and people wanting it. And a lot of these are, Jeff owns, one of the bigger casinos. Larry's owns a bunch of them. Those are local, guys here, but I get what you want. And I would love to see James and Matt get licenses. In reality, if they say there's 10 more licenses, and they say, we're going to just have a lottery, how many do you think people are going to put their hat in there? 100? So you got like 1 in 100 chance of it? We're not. If that's the purpose that we're trying to do, we're not going to help him by increasing it by 5 and putting a lottery out there. We're just going to increase the number of licenses, and that, in all reality, could go to people that have 10 friends and they're going to put 10 in. That I would caution you on. And also, you talk about the establishments like Minerva's. They quit doing it. They didn't quit doing it because it's making a lot of money. I've got 3 of them, and one makes 4 times what the other one makes, So it definitely varies by location how much everybody makes. I mean, don't think it's a slam dunk that this is a gold mine by any means, and I'll give Larry as an example. He's had Diggers by Hy-Vee for a long time. I'll bet you that's doing more than your new one. Now, I have no doubt that the new one's going to catch up, but, this is a gamble. You're putting money out there as a business, and you're gambling that gambling on the gambling, but it really does vary. When I bought O'Malley's, it didn't have video lottery. They had taken the license out of that or let it go dormant, and I put it back in after I bought it. So I don't think that's probably the Minerva's and O'Malley's is 2 of the examples of businesses that went through all the process and did everything, and that decided not to do the lottery. So I know for the outside it looks like it's really easy, but again, The license is just the beginning of it. The building, the remodel, the real estate, and the lottery machines is a real big part of it too. So, thank you.
Steph?
Yes.
So I think, based on the information we have, based on the fact that we know that there are quite a few possible future licenses based on this conversation, I think I'm at a point where I'm comfortable making a motion to just update the current ordinance per what Ross has put in here, see how some of these things play out, take some time, and then if we need to readdress this in the future, that's what we can do. So my motion is to make the updates to the current ordinance as Ross has stated.
We have a motion on the floor to implement the changes as proposed in front of the City Commission tonight in the packet. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we do have now a motion and a second in front of the commission. So I would open it up again to any commission discussion on this.
I sort of am lining up with Bridget here. This is a problem that's 25 years in the making, right? And I don't think we have to. I mean, just last week we learned that there was a restaurant bar that had a video lottery license that we didn't even know. And there's a lot to discover here with 8 licenses that may or may not come to fruition. I think it's okay. Personally, I would support getting the ordinance in line with state law and then revisiting this if need be.
I guess I would agree, Amy and Bridget, with there's a lot of variables that are kind of coming all of a sudden, right? I still am in favor in the future of having some type of a trigger mechanism, something that triggers an opening up another license, because I feel that's needed with population. I don't necessarily know that right at this moment is the right time to do that, because we do have this variable that we don't necessarily know what is going to come out of it. It may be that nothing comes out of it, and then I'll be back to wanting to figure out a way to curb by opening it up, but having some reason for opening it up. But I'm still somewhat puzzled by this lottery tied to a liquor license, but it's dormant, and then if they can separate it, I really want to know more about that and make sure that the legality of that is all there. I know we've done it one time, but
maybe twice, actually.
Okay.
So that's, you're kind of mixing and matching ideas there, but yeah, the protocol is there to decouple video lottery from liquor, but it's done contractually. So that's still available. The variable, I think, if I'm understanding you right, would be whether and to what extent the holders of the existing liquor that can do so do so. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm looking to, alleviate pressure. I'm not looking to deflate. I'm not looking to all of a sudden flood the market with 8 plus whatever else we look to add on. So I would rather see this work its way out, so we can figure that out. And if there is not if there is not an increase, then I would want to come back to this and look at some type of a trigger mechanism. But for the time being, I guess I would like to stand down on opening up through a lottery system or anything along those lines. But would like to see some type of increase, so that we're not just creating, inflating values. I know that it was stated that necessarily wasn't the case, but it is, right? I mean, it's if I had one, I wouldn't want it increased either. And if I didn't have one and I wanted one, I'd want it increased. I mean, that's just common sense. So.
And I would just say this, Commissioner Brunick, I'm intrigued by the idea of the incremental, perhaps population-based move in terms of adding more businesses. I don't want us to jump to solve a problem tonight and then create 1,000 new problems. I think there's a whole lot that we're still learning about the issue.
Commissioner Weber, is there anything you wanted to add to this?
No, I think I've heard enough. Thank you.
Okay.
So what I don't want us to do, my personal preference would be to just kick this down the road to a commission 25 years from now to have to deal with. This is a hard topic. We can't be always just deferring to the next, and that's why government gets itself in these situations. So I'm fine. It sounds like the room is fine with waiting and seeing how this new development shakes out a little bit once the ordinance changes. But I don't want this to just sit and go another 25 years without us considering some other possibilities. So that would be my point, is go with what the consensus is, but revisit it in the near future.
I just want to say, too, again, that I do think it makes sense, and Commissioner Bruni, it makes sense that maybe there is some trigger mechanism based on population in the future. But before tonight, I had no idea there was 8 licenses available. And so that's what concerns me. And like I've said before, and I know I told you, Matt, that we're open for business, and I mean that. I definitely want to support our businesses in town and do everything that I can as a commissioner to help keep people coming to town, patronizing our businesses, and make sure that we're doing what we can for all businesses. But I just, in lieu of what happened tonight with these eight potential licenses, I always think there's a happy middle ground we can meet. And I think that right now, I think we need to it's prudent to let this shake out a little bit to see what happens with these potential 8, and then maybe going forward, have this discussion again to not kick the can down the road like Mason said. I think that's important too. You're right. Thank you.
Yep, I just want to make sure that the commission doesn't have any other further questions, because we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any other commissioners that want to state anything? Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, so I'm sure I'm going to think of like 1,000 other reasons why you guys shouldn't do this tonight, because I probably won't sleep. One of the reasons why I can say it right now, I think we all know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think that you've thought about it in the last half hour. What do you guys think is going to happen with those next 8 licenses if they go on the market? Even if they do. Let's just say for sake that they do, but I've been searching at the ones that should be available. They are not for sale. Whether they bought them for $5,000 or $60,000 or $150 or $350, they are not for sale. So even if they are for sale, okay, what do you think that's going to do to the market? It's going to go higher, and it's going to go higher. You guys are talking about the problems, and you don't want to create more problems. The problem is already created, okay? And I think that we need to fix it now. I get that there's other stuff involved, but if you make this vote now, this will be pushed. How long does it take for the process again to just redo to the state's level? Is it a month, 2 months?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Since we're not aligned with the state regulations or whatever right now, how long would it take to redo the ordinance to get to the state?
Two meetings and 20 days to publish, so month and a half.
Month and a half, 2 months. So that's just that alone, okay? And then, I mean, we're already changing the ordinance. I don't know if we can delay the meeting at all, but exactly what's going to happen, everybody's going to get on their phone tomorrow, and it's going to be a bidding war. And then it's going to be even more jacked up than Joe Dean's at $350K or any other place at $150K, and it's going to raise even more. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, is there any way that you guys can tell me otherwise? Like that it's not going to go up if they sell? And it's not going to change anything in 2 months if they do sell, is it? Like, it'll just be less that we can regulate with those 8 because they're liquor licenses, correct? Because you can't regulate the liquor license ones. So we're still at the same cap. Like, it's not going to change the inflation. We need to fix the problem yesterday, in my opinion. And we talk about tools. How many times have we talked about tools? Like, it's not about the tools that you guys give me. It's about the restrictions that are taken away to allow me to be a successful business owner. You know, whether it is signs or lottery license, whatever it takes to give me a chance to be a good business owner here. And I think if we follow this motion, it's going to be delayed, like you said, whether it's 10 years or 25 years or a year. I mean, James is in a pickle right now. Like, he needs this, like, now, you guys. Any amount of time that we wait, it's against him. And that's it. And if you can find a way, whether it is, I really think one thing that we did get straight off topic is Thrive. If we can make this happen through Thrive to purchase it or whatever, it gives the city money. Like, I think we focus on that versus, you know, lotterying it off. I think I appreciate, you know, coming up here and saying, you know, to help us out, to help me and James out. Like, the lottery's not going to help us out, you know, in 1 in 100. As soon as you guys announce that lottery, it's going to be the same thing. Like, I wish we could just brainstorm just a little bit longer and just please take a second thought and just don't make a vote. Just see if there's another way. I know there's another way, you guys. I just hope that you can help me out and help James out, and hopefully within the process we don't hurt these guys out here too.
So I'm pro business, right? So I want businesses to survive in Yankton. I want everybody's business to survive in Yankton. I want Jeff to make money. Jim, I want you to make money. Larry, I want you to make money. Free enterprise works when businesses don't have restrictions on them. So I've thought about this video lottery license issue and the ways to meet in the middle somehow, such as the population-based component that you brought up, Ben. I think that still kicks the can down the road, because let's just say it's 2 licenses that you referenced, and you hold a lottery to some list that everybody gets on. You just put a $100,000 ticket in somebody's back pocket. 2 people. So is that the commission's job to make others wealthy? Or is it the commission's job to promote healthy business decisions and to promote healthy business economies and fair competition within our city? That is what I'd like you to ponder.
Vanderhill. Just out of curiosity, maybe I'm not smart enough to figure this out on my own, but say you took the cap off. Obviously, it's going to hurt these other guys big time. But if you take the cap off, I think you said the city doesn't sell the license, so what would these 2 gentlemen get a license for? Would it just be free with a, and maybe, and the other thing is, how many machines do we want in town? That's just a thought. It's neither the right thought or the bad thought, it's a thought for all of you.
Yeah, I can answer the first, not the second.
Okay.
The first is $50 per machine. So if they had 1 machine, it would be $50. If they had 10 machines, it would be $500.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a conundrum. And unfortunately, the city put a cap on 25 years ago, and that started this whole event. And I don't know how you fix it now, but there are things to think about, because I understand everybody that's here, but If I had $150,000 on the line, I'd be very nervous right now.
Anybody else in the public want to address the commission? Any commissioners have any other thoughts? Folks, we do have a motion and a second on the, in front of the commission tonight to move forward with the language that is in the commission packet. Seeing no other discussion, Al, roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanhoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 4 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-204, recommending the city commission to approve change order number 1, accept the project and authorize the final payment request for the 2023 cold applied plastic pavement marking installation project, directing the finance officer to issue a manual check in the amount of $50,767.50 to Dakota Traffic Services LLC of T, South Dakota. In your commission packet tonight, you'll notice $56,928.50 was budgeted. So this is coming in $6,161 less than the budgeted amount. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanhoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 5 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-207, recommending the adoption of resolution 23-62, authorizing the destruction, trade, donation, or sale of surplus property by a sealed bid. In our packet tonight, I believe, is one item. It's gym equipment. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Hanhoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number 6 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-212, recommending approval of the agreement to retain Mid-State Engineering and Testing for a peer review of the construction and testing of the West Side Park Pond. Amy, I might turn it over to you, or either Ross, I guess, to just kind of walk through why this is in front of the commission tonight and what we're hoping to.
Sure. So as the commission and the public is aware, we have a pond that is not holding water. And so we went through a couple of repairs, and the result of that is that we still do not have a pond that's holding water. When we initiated this response, we talked about the fact that we have several contracts with different entities. We have a contract with a design engineer, a contract with a geotechnical engineer, and a contract with a construction engineer. Where do we go from there? Options were to continue to work with the contracting engineer and tell them to continue with the design that was given to us and make it work. Now, that's still an option for you as well. There's another option that was put out by all three parties to put in a or a synthetic liner, a membrane, so to speak, in the pond, and that would come with additional costs. They brought forward a proposal to you at the city that they would pay for a portion of that, but would like you to pay for the installation of that liner. At that point, a conversation ensued about, should we go back and take a look at what was performed up until this time? So what was performed in terms of design, in terms of the geotechnical analysis, and in terms of the actual construction, and answer some questions. So we do have those questions lined up for you, and Ross has researched a number of firms and identified one that might help answer these questions, being was the initial redesign a design that should have worked, and if so, why didn't it work? And, you know, was that a nature of the engineering firm, the design engineer, the geotechnical analysis, or the contractor? If that initial design would not have worked, is the proposed fix, i.e. the liner, is that what we should be doing going forward? If the redesign is the proper fix, meaning the liner, are there any other expenses that the city should not have to pay? So as you'll recall, the contractors, the three parties there, suggested that the city pay for that liner and installation, which was $177,000, because it is a different design. So the question would be, is there any portion of that, if that's how you choose to move ahead, that we shouldn't have to pay? There is a cost associated with this peer review. That would be $3,280. And there's some scenarios that could come out of this peer review. They could answer all those questions. They could answer none of those questions. They could say, yep, all these things should have worked, and we could be at the same point where we are now. I just want the commission to be aware of that. We've already put forth, you know, designs, the design contract, the geotechnical contract, and the construction contract before this commission or past commissions, and they were approved, and while we still have some of the fees held back, we've already put forth dollars. So moving in any direction would be adding additional cost. So initially, when the pond didn't hold water, you know, I've said, and I think it was a consensus from all the commissioners, that this isn't, you know, whoever's responsible, it's not the commission. As we tried to repair and tried to identify what's wrong, you know, then it calls into question, is there mediation? Is there arbitration? Is there litigation? You know, so there could be costs as well that way if we continue to press on a standpoint of that we don't have responsibility, and they meaning the contractors need to figure that out. Unfortunately, we are where we are today, and if you want to know these answers to these questions, this is probably the best way to try to get there. You may or may not be satisfied with them. Is this dollar amount worth it to you to try to find out? And then at that point, we'll need to proceed. I don't know if the proposals that were on the table will still be, or at what cost. So, Ross, I don't know if you have anything to add. The individual that we're looking at here is close, so there wouldn't be a lot of travel. Hopefully they can give us some answers, and that might be useful to you in making your decision on proceeding.
No, city manager, that was excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in this. I just think if you want someone to give you guidance, none of you being professional design engineers or construction experts, to be able to analyze your options moving forward, having this knowledge can be helpful. It just comes at a cost, this gentleman did indicate it would be an hourly fee, and what you're looking at is a not to exceed, so it could come in less, but I don't necessarily want you to anticipate that it will, just because he may end up finding this is harder to dig into than he had initially anticipated. So just keep that in mind as you guys decide.
Great. Thank you both for walking us through this. Questions from the commission? If not, what's your pleasure as related to this item?
Move to approve the agreement for the peer review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion now that we have that in place?
I think this is important to do. I think it's important to have a third party, a neutral party, one that doesn't have a vested interest in one way or another. And you're going to have to pay for that. But I think it's money that is well spent, given the situation.
I understand correctly, it's $3,280 that it wouldn't exceed?
It would not exceed $3,280, yes. Now, having said that, if the results of his opinions indicate that this course is not the right course and that we should stay on the original course, so someone needs to go back and fix something, he's willing to stick around should we need, expert witness services, but he is not putting himself out as any kind of design engineer, so it's not like he's angling for some extra project work for us down the road, just continuing consulting on this project if we need him.
Anybody else in the commission? Anybody in the public?
Judy Vanderheel, and another conundrum for you, but just a question again. Based on the original contract, I'm assuming, and that's an assumption, of course, that the original contract asked for a working pond, complete, but then you had these other two contractors out there too. I suppose that probably muddied the water a little bit. I'm agreeing with you. I think you do need to bring in an expert to, and hopefully hopefully he'll settle it for you all. But wouldn't the original engineer still have liability to make sure that that pond is working? Just a question.
Potentially. Yeah, I'll repeat what I said when this first came up, just for the benefit of the public. The city has an obligation to pay for the design and costs associated with one functional pond. So if it's not a straight path to get there, there might be some extraneous costs the city could recover, but that's part of the question. I mean, the third question is, what are the wasted expenses moving to this new thing, if that's the right solution? Any extra costs that we wouldn't have had to incur if we went straight to that to begin with would be potentially not something the city would have to pay for. But we don't know enough to be able to answer that question yet.
Anybody else in the public? Roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Mayor Mosier.
Aye, motion carries. Number 7, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 23-208, recommending the acceptance of the utility and street improvements for Dakota West Estates 2 Addition, Dakota Street. That is in the amount of $691.71 to Steve Drotzman. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Mosier.
Aye, motion carries. Number 8 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-209, recommending the adoption of resolution 23-63, authorizing the placement of stop signs within the Mead development. I believe in front of you tonight is 7 proposed signs, with 1 existing in its current location, so 6 new, if I read that right. 7 coming in front of us at various locations in the Mead development as we continue our progress out there in the development. Anything I missed there? Does that? Okay. Pleasure of the commission.
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number 9, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 23-210, recommending the adoption of resolution 23-64, which is restricting parking along Spruce Street from 31st Street to 33rd Street. This is again at the Mead development, and it would be on the west side of the development, by the Cantor building, right, by the DMV. So again, as was proposed in your previous motion, again, controlling traffic flow and safety out at the Mead Development Center. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this? I'm assuming, I only had one question. I'm assuming the reason this is being proposed is just the width of that street. And if we're allowing traffic to park on both sides of the street, almost makes that then a one-way?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I see Adam but just good to clarify the reason behind that. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further commission?
Quick
Yes.
question. So where is the new parking lot then? Besides the building to the west there, that said the Cantor building you said? So I know a lot of people park there. Having kids that play soccer, I know that fills up pretty quickly. Where's the new parking lot?
This is just restricting parking on Spruce Street.
Okay.
Which new parking lot are you referring to?
That's why I'm asking. So is there a lot of parking on Spruce Street right now when there's soccer?
Currently, the state has no parking signs up
Okay.
on that street. And this would just be, since the city took over Spruce Street, it would just be the city reinforcing.
We're just
that
making
no
it
parking.
official?
Yes.
Okay.
So technically, nothing's changing.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Got it. All right, any other questions from the commission? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number 10 is consideration of memorandum 23-211, recommending approval of amendment number 2 to the contract between the City of Yankton and Banner Associates, Inc. for the Martin Creek Bank Restoration and Maintenance Trail reconstruction, and to authorize the city manager to sign all documents regarding this project. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Weber.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. And number 11 under new business is consideration of memorandum 23-213, recommending the adoption of the outdoor aquatics fees as proposed for 2024. In your commission packet, this would be raising the season pass from $64 to $66. The daily rate as proposed in your packet would stay the same at $10. Also in your commission packet would be to continue with folks being allowed to purchase a pool pass at the 2023 rate, providing they do that before January 1st, 2024. So again, in front of you tonight is a $2 increase on the season pass, but the ability for folks to purchase a season pass at the 2023 rate, providing they do so before January 1st. So wanted to clarify that. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Todd, would that be like available starting tomorrow, or do we have dates? Amy, Todd, somebody?
Starting tomorrow, that will be available if approved. Also remind the commission that folks can check out Youth or Family Aquatics pool passes at the Yankton Community Library, and there is still funds in the Guppy Grant with the Boys and Girls Club available for those that may need to access that.
And I do see in the commission packet, there are quite a few that took advantage of the early sales last year, correct? I was trying to get to that quickly. 500 plus passes were sold in November and December of these past few years. Okay, perfect. So people are taking advantage of that. Also in your commission packet, before I ask for the pleasure of the commission, is obviously not food and beverage rates, as that would be set depending on the cost of those to acquire and sell that at the facility. After all of that, what is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion?
Yes. I guess I'm curious why we're leaving the daily rate at 10 and increasing the season pass rate up $2. In my mind, it seems like the taxpayers are paying for the pool, the ones that live in city limits. The taxpayers that live in city limits are probably the most common number of season ticket pass holders. And the daily passes are of various, it could be people live here, it could be people from out of town, from all over the place. And so the burden of the pool is on the taxpayer, and we're increasing the burden of the cost of the pass for the season ticket holder.
And Todd may have a different answer than I do, but, and the commission can adjust any of the rates, so that's in your purview. My thought is, being we're still in the early seasons of the Heather Family Aquatic Center, we want to encourage as many people to experience as possible and turn those day passes into season passes. And I think we've had some luck with that. If we continue to raise the daily pass, maybe the people are going to be weighing how many times are we going to use the aquatic center versus buying a pass. But if you want to increase that, of course, there would have to be another motion made, or you'd have to make an amendment, but you certainly can. That's commission's purview. I think we felt like that was reasonable, and still want to try to market in a way to get people in the door and then get them to buy that season pass.
And the other comment, I was curious, the library pass, is that open to anyone who's a library card holder?
Yes, it is.
Not just those that live in city limits could take advantage?
They may.
Okay. So my logic train is the same with that, as the county residents aren't necessarily paying the taxes on the pool.
Yes.
And I understand where you're coming from. We're trying to draw membership, right? But
draw membership and to try to live up to, other folks talked about living up to our mission, but
that per family, per checkout, can they check it out multiple times throughout the year?
That Mr. Larson is going to have to answer because he knows about that.
So in the first year, you have to be an adult card member, have a library pass and be an adult, and you could check out twice per month. So as we analyze the data, those passes in June and July were gone by almost the middle of the month. So we will look now this next year at going adult card holders at the library can do it once per month. We limit it to 100, so it didn't matter if I got 2 of them and my wife got 2 of them. When the total got to 100 in that month, that's when we capped it. So next summer, we'll look at doing adults get 1 checkout. So I could still do 1, my wife could still do 1, but do 1 checkout per month, and we talked about increasing that limit to 150. So we're spreading out the number of families that we're actually dealing with versus somebody being able to go in and get my 2 and her 2, and other people then not, as we got through the month, have availability of the pass. So we'll see how that goes next year for numbers, and again, analyze it every year. But
how many of those passes are available at the library?
We did 100 per month.
Okay.
Todd, as long as you're at the mic, I don't know if you have this in front of you or not, but to Commissioner Schramm's point, in the commission packet, it said there was 16,972 day passes purchased in 2023. Do you have whatsoever breakdown of, I know the first year we tracked zip codes?
Yeah,
as
we
far
did.
as-
We've got information. I don't have it here, but yeah, we could figure out who's coming from where if you wanted locations. Yes.
Yeah, I was just
Figure that out.
curious, is it, to his point, is it city people that are just not getting a season pass because they know they have a busy summer and they're only going to get there once? I'm just curious how many of them are people that potentially could buy a season pass versus those that can't. So it was more curiosity. I don't think it changes anything in the motion, but I was just curious.
Yes, again, we have that data, so we can get that out to you. Yep.
I just want to clarify. So 100 per month. So if 25 people came in on the first, that'd be a quarter of them gone immediately. Is that
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, it wasn't limited per day or anything like
That's
that.
okay. That was okay.
And when they checked them out, it was good for a week. They could use it within that next week. They could only use it once.
Once,
they could
but
use
for
it-
a week.
Yep, so
Okay.
it would get stamped, again, because they have that capability
Yep.
at the library. So they would stamp it with a date when it expired. So you would come in and check it out on the 1st. By the 7th or 8th, you would have to come into our
Recheck
facility
it.
and use it.
Okay, thank you.
And were they all used that were checked out?
No, I think if you look at the data, it would show that a few of them didn't get
just a
used,
few.
but not very, for a large majority of them got used.
And I maybe I came across a little harsh. I think it's a good program and a good idea to try to get as many people to the pool as possible. I don't want taxpayers to be bearing extra burden when, if the data shows that a lot of the day passes are actually outside of our area coming in to use it. That'd be interesting data to know.
We can, once we get that data too, if there's some change you want to make with day passes, there'd still be time to do that. Nobody can buy one of those till Memorial Day, so.
All right, other commission questions, discussion? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig. Aye. Hanoff. Johnson.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
No.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye, motion carries. Again, would just remind the public that you can purchase 2024 pass starting tomorrow, as indicated by City Manager Leon, at the 2023 rate for those that want to do that. So I know they make good stocking stuffers and Christmas gifts, I think, is probably a lot of why we sold the ones that we did. So just a reminder on that. Any other business in front of the commission tonight? Seeing no other business in front of the city commission tonight, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting of October 23rd.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And anybody abstaining?